who better than me?
Welcome back to another episode of The Hardcore Casual with your boy, Base the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe, share the video with a friend, a colleague, a family member. Since it's Mother's Day, share it with your mum. See if she wants to watch me talk for about 15-20 minutes. It's all good. But yeah, there's a few things I wanted to sort of talk about because a couple of things have happened over the weekend outside of the fights that we've had. So I thought, let me just address it and yeah, see where I get to. So without further ado, start the show. So Gervonta Davis saying that his next fight with Rolly Romero is the last fight on his Mayweather Promotions contract, and the rumor is he will not be re-signing. Now, he said, look, the only reason I have to fight Rolly is because it's the last fight of my contract. So I'm assuming because he's got that lightweight regular title with the WBA, if Rolly gets that, then they can segue that into him being the new kind of lightweight champion, because you know they don't really care about who's got the real belts. Like, they're all about the regular titles. And I'm assuming that the plan would be for, you know, Tank to lose, Rolly to get that belt, Tank goes off and does his own thing, and then Rolly basically takes up the Tank mantle. So what do I think of that? Well, it's a nice story, but look, as much as I give Tank a hard time about his level of competition and the type of fights that he's been put in by his promoters, I truly believe that Rolly has absolutely nothing for him, and this is not something that Tank would need to be worried about. Thus, if he gets this fight out the way, his options are what? Join Top Rank, join Matchroom USA, join Pro Bellum, maybe look to come over to the UK and get the following and the money over here, because he could probably make more over here with someone like a boxer. You know, Sky Sports will roll out the red carpet for him. BT Sport maybe. But no, I think the most likely idea for Tank would be that he'll probably end up joining someone like Eddie Hearn at Matchroom USA, purely because if you go to Matchroom, number one, you know there's not going to be any foolishness on your money, but also, like, you know what you're getting paid at the end of the day. Like, whatever you're getting paid is set in stone. So actually, I just say that now that you've got the whole DAZN pay-per-view function in the US as well, that also might be an avenue they go down. You never know. I'm going to address that a bit later on. But yeah, with regards to this, I don't see him staying and sticking around the PBC, although a reason for him to stick around there is he won't get away with some of the same foolishness that he's done there with Mayweather and sort of, you know, Al Heyman and whatnot. He won't get away with that same stuff. Definitely not a Top Rank, probably not at Matchroom. And then after that, I guess the only other option I reckon will probably be a Pro Bellum type of deal. But yeah, we'll see where we get to with that. And yeah, we'll report on that a bit later on and see what happens. So rumor has it that Terence Crawford has been offered a 2-fight deal worth $25 million to go to the PBC to fight Keith Thurman and then supposedly Errol Spence afterwards. But then I've also heard a conflicting rumor that deal is actually one fight for 147 and the other fight for 154. So make of that what you will. But let me talk about the first half of that. If he was offered a deal worth $25 million for those 2 fights, he would be absolutely crazy not to take it. I mean, either of those is more money than his highest guarantee has been, what, 2 times over. That's $12.5 million per fight, or you say $8 million for one fight and then, you know, 17 for the other. However you want to slice it, like, it makes perfect sense. However, that actual price bracket is what tells me this isn't a real proposal, or those numbers have just been drafted from somewhere. Because yeah, the PBC will give someone like Canelo that kind of money because they know that they'll get it back on pay-per-view on the revenue afterwards. If thus far we say well, it's guaranteed or it's clear that Terence Crawford himself, while he does okay, doesn't generate great pay-per-view sales. Where are you getting the money to fund this and make a profit afterwards? Especially if you're putting him in against someone like Keith Thurman, who we know is not going to fight him for anything less than like $7 to $8 million. Because Keith, as we know at the moment, is literally just a mercenary for hire. Then, if it is the Spence fight after that, what do you think? Spence is going to be happy that Crawford's getting 12.5 and he's probably going to get like a guarantee of 5, which is what he's usually been getting with pay-per-view upside? It doesn't make sense. So you'd have to put him on parity with Crawford, or he's going to want more than Crawford. So if Crawford's getting 12.5, then Spence is probably going to be wanting 16, 17. That fight, as good as it is, doesn't generate that kind of money. So I think those numbers is kind of bogus, personally, unless it's just a case of they know this is the last year they've got with, you know, Fox, and they're just going to try and milk some of that money with Fox on PBC on Fox for as much as they can. Because I can't see Showtime being stupid enough to put that money up knowing that there's absolutely no way they're going to get it back. It doesn't make a huge amount of sense to me. But if it was just the 2-fight deal as it on its own, yeah, 100%. Like, all right, I know you might want to do the fight-by-fight thing, but if you've got a 2-fight deal where it's guaranteed that, look, this is your first opponent and this is your second, and like, you know, their signatures are on it, you know, provided he doesn't lose this fight and he doesn't lose this fight, you know, you can't, my man can't go and retire. He's not allowed to vacate the belts and move up. He has to fight you. And I don't know how legal you can make that. But if that's the case and you say, cool, I'll take it, or you have it written in there that no, this 2 fights must be this person and this person. If you can't guarantee me X or Y, I can walk away from this contract at any particular time. If that was the case, hell yeah, I say sign it. I say sign it, beat the best that they've got to offer, because so far that's always been the narrative. You ain't fought nobody, or you ain't fighting the big dogs or the, you know, the people in the division. Well, now you get to fight Thurman. You know, can be a tune-up if that's what you want to call it. You know, beat the brakes off of Thurman and then go for Spence. And if that contract happens to be a 154 thing, then you go for Jamel if he becomes undisputed, and you go for, and you take that work, or even the Castano fight or whatever. Get you another belt in another weight class if possible, be a 4-division champion, cement your legacy even further than it already is. And if the Spence fight can't be made at that point, then ultimately there is no more defending of Spence, or oh, he was going A, B, C to get to D. Like, no, it's just he just didn't want it, and now we've all guaranteed that's the case. So personally, while I think the money's bullshit, I agree that if that offer is on the table, take it, purely because there's not really anywhere else to go at this junction, and at least at that point you can shut up the narrative that you ain't fought anyone of any note, because now you're fighting the people they're telling you were the best in the division. So hey, that's my take on it anyway. Okay, so person reports I saw on Twitter, I'm not giving anyone any credit at this point, I don't know if it's true or not, but it seems as if DAZN have effectively been frozen out of this Kambosos Haney complication in Australia for the Undisputed Lightweight Championship, and the contract or the proposal that Lou DiBella has put forward on the table stipulates that Devin Haney would have to sign a 3-fight deal with Top Rank in order to secure that undisputed fight. Now, what do I think of this? Firstly, I feel as if this is an ultimate way to not make the fight happen. However, I also feel that, and sometimes I do hate agreeing with Julius, but on this one I have to agree with him. If Haney doesn't take the deal, then he's got nowhere else to go ultimately, because if he moves up to 140, he'll be fighting Journeyman at 140. He's not going to get any immediate shot at any belt against any champion at 140, and ultimately, until he fully fills into that frame, you know, which will take probably 2 or 3 fights, like a year and a bit to kind of really cement himself in that division, he'll be food for the guys just that are way too big. You know, the guys that are really should be like super welterweights or middleweights are shrinking themselves down to 140. Like, that's who he'll be facing moving forward. And it's not where he needs to be right now, with absolutely no leverage. Like, the only way that move makes sense is if you are undisputed at lightweight, vacate the belts, move up. You'll probably get your super status from the WBO, so you can go down that route. You can go down the WBA route as well, but you can fight in a couple easier fights, gimme fights, without having to go through eliminators. And then when you're ready, you can challenge for a belt of your choice, whether it becomes vacated or maybe you feel like it's an opportune time to get that particular champion. That's the way to go ultimately. So realistically, he's got to take this fight. Now, with regards to this 3-fight deal, if the 3-fight deal is based on him staying at lightweight, that's tricky, because he outgrew lightweight about 2 years ago. If it wasn't for the pandemic, I reckon he probably would have been able to have got some of the fights he wanted to already, and he would have moved up to 140. Like, his body's growing, he's killing himself to make a weight. It's affecting his punch power, it's affecting his punch resistance, even though he's never been dropped or anything like that. It's only a matter of time before, you know, taking shots, you know, while your body's in a state of recovery is not going to be beneficial for you. I've said for the longest time, I believe if he goes up to 140 and possibly even 147, like in the, you know, sort of in the couple 2-3 years from now, the same power that he was displaying earlier on in his career will show again. I just literally think he's draining himself down too far. It's affecting his punch power, it's affecting his energy. You know, stamina's good, his boxing's good, but he could be getting more guys out of there than he has been. Again, I always bring it back to one of the times when I spoke to Craig Richards, or when he was doing interviews, and he said at 168 he never had no power, because, you know, he was bringing himself down, he was just draining himself and draining his energy. As soon as he gets to 175, like, all of a sudden there's knockout after knockout. I mean, not every single fight's been ended in a knockout, but ultimately it's the same principle. So considering the fact that, you know, Haney was shattering eye sockets prior, you know, to guys that haven't had those kind of injuries before, or, you know, sort of knocking guys out cold, whether they were the top echelon of talent or not, it was the proof that he could do it. He hasn't been able to do that the last couple of years. So if they want to keep him at 135, I can understand him not taking that deal as 3 fights, because I can't make 135 for another 3 fights, because that would include a Kambosos rematch and probably a Lomachenko fight when he decides to come back from the Ukraine, which will take Haney probably into like mid 2023 at the earliest. You know, at the latest it could be like the start of 2024. He can't make lightweight for another 2 years. So yeah, it's a sticky one, but if it's a case of you just have to sign to top rank period, I'll do it. I know Kambosos had the rematch clause and there was no rematch clause for Haney, but maybe he could probably do it for one more fight afterwards. So if that's the case, where you have to sign for them 3 fights, you do the 2 rematches and then you get to move up, go for it, because you've got nowhere else to go. But if it's a case where they want you to stay at lightweight for another 3 fights, while I won't love you not taking that, I can't hate it either, because I can't tell the next person how to use their body and how, you know, their body should be running. You know, I know for a fact no one can't tell me that I must lose weight for the sake of it. Tell me I can't go gym and keep my body looking how it looks now, and I gotta shrink all that down for something else. I mean, unless you're paying me like insane amounts of money, like we're talking, you know, movies and, you know, TV shows or whatnot. But yeah, that's another story. Either way, it's a tough one for Haney, but if they're not dictating your career at lightweight, you got to do it. Like, take the free fight deal, you know, forget about DAZN for right now. If, you know, Eddie can still be your promoter or your, you know, your pal, and you maybe link back up afterwards, or however the deal may be. But yeah, you got to take that. No excuses, unless they're trying to keep you there for like the next 3 fights, in which case it is what it is. And that's all I can really say about that. So on this, I normally only do 3 segments. I'll do 3 things and then kind of keep it moving. But there is one thing I wanted to touch on, and I've wanted to touch on it for about a week now, because I've seen a few bits and pieces regarding the whole DAZN pay-per-view and whatnot. Now, look, DAZN having a pay-per-view platform, I ain't got an issue with as such, because some fighters just can't be paid on regular subscription. I mean, you know, they said pay-per-view was dead. They lied, but ultimately them being in the market kind of stops the bullshit pay-per-views, because let's be real, no one's buying the PBC pay-per-views anymore at any great rate. Top Rank ain't putting them on unless sort of they're the creme de la creme. So at least now you're only getting pay-per-views that make sense, or for the absolute biggest of stars. So that's what we can kind of you know, we can say, all right, cool. The issue I have with the pay-per-view platform was a very similar issue that I had with DAZN when they did the price increase in the UK for the $1.99 to the $7.99. Now that one was all about them not giving us a schedule before raising the price. Because like, well, how do I know I want to pay that price? This time though, I think they've missed a trick in getting more subscribers to the channel. I mean, to the platform. Now hear me out. So in America, I'm bearing in mind, like, I'm going off of just what I know of that platform. I don't know everything about it. So if I get anything wrong, if I got any of my US people in the chat, please let me know. But you've got a $19.99 monthly subscription, or you've got a $99.99 yearly subscription, right? And they've said, okay, well, if you've got a yearly subscription with DAZN, then the pay-per-view will cost you $59.99, right? And or if you've got a monthly, it will cost you $59.99, something along those lines. Here's how I would have done it. Now, their biggest selling point is the fact that, well, you get the pay-per-view plus you get a month of free content afterwards, or subscribe content after the pay-per-view. Whereas if you was on a Showtime or a PBC on Fox or a Top Rank, you only get that one event and that's it. Yeah, I would have done it one better. Like, if you've got a loyal subscriber base, you want to make sure that they stay with you, right? You don't want, because they're loyal to you based off the premise that you told them pay-per-view's dead. There is not going to be any additional charges for any content. You're going to get unlimited value for money. All right, so you also want to entice new people in. So here's what I would have done. If someone was on a monthly subscription, $19.99, right? I would have charged them I would have charged them something like $49.99 or $44.99 for their Canelo pay-per-view on top of that monthly subscription, right? So you get a bit of a discount because you're already with the platform, right? If you were a yearly subscriber, someone that subscribed to the year, like, we've got that funds from you already. For someone like that, I would have said, all right, for you guys, the pay-per-view is $39.99. So it's half the price of what the regular is. If you don't have a subscription to DAZN, then you get the pay-per-view for $79.99 or $74.99, however, whatever price it is, the normal price, but you also get the month as well. Yeah, that keeps your regular customers happy, because they're saying, well, you know, you're rewarding me for being loyal and being with you already, and not just being a one and done. But then you're also telling people who haven't subscribed, well, hold on a minute. So if I pay the $100, then I can get the whole year, or I can pay 100, I can pay 120, and I can get the whole year plus this pay-per-view. Okay, that makes sense, because now at least if I'm a boxing person outside of just this one person, then that means I can actually get this thing for a lot cheaper. And I can get more, I can get the whole year's worth of content as well. To me, that makes more sense. If they truly only want to be there for Canelo, then cool. $79.99, you get the rest of the month. If you don't watch it, whatever. But more people, if people are actually on the whole boxing and wanting to consume that content, they're going to be more likely to pay the 100 or the 120, and then even if they got to pay another 40 for the next Canelo pay-per-view, at that point that's $160 for the entire year, as opposed to $160 for 2 months. See how that works? If you've already done the overall subscription, then you're essentially paying the $80 for 2 Canelo pay-per-views as opposed to just one, or whoever they're going to put on pay-per-view. To me, the marketing didn't make sense because it didn't show any emphasis on loyalty from your current subscriber base, and it doesn't really entice people who aren't subscribed to you to stick around. Because if they only want that one person, there's no incentive for them to come and, you know, purchase the platform for anything outside of that. But you give them a nice little package and it makes sense. Case in point, when I first got my Disney Plus subscription, it was, I think, $39.99 first year. For the entire year, it was like $39.99, and then or you paid $6.99 a month or something like that, right? Ultimately, which one worked out cheaper? The yearly one. Now, every year when the monthly subscription has gone up, the yearly subscription has stayed the same apart from this year coming. But the yearly is still a lot cheaper and a lot better. And then when they did the things like the Premier Access thing, if you were on the yearly, you got it for a cheaper price than if you were just on the monthly, which made sense. Ultimately, I feel like that's the way it should have been done. I feel DAZN missed a trick with that one. I hope they learn from that in the future. And look, I may not be a marketing genius, but I know, to me, what's gonna get more money coming to me long term, and that's obviously cheaper prices or better deals. I always buy things when I buy more things when I feel like there's a deal there, as opposed to when it's just a one-off, unless it's like, you know, hard to get trainers, but that's a whole nother story. Anyway, look, I'm gonna leave it there for now. Yeah, get in the comments, let me know what you think about that, of everything I've talked about. And ultimately, thank you everyone for watching. Again, it's Mother's Day. I'm gonna go spend a little bit of time with my mum. We've actually agreed to go do something next week instead. She doesn't like the hustle and bustle and just doing things for the sake because everyone else is doing it, and I rate her for that. She's a real one. So again, happy Mother's Day, Mum. To all the other great mums out there, happy Mother's Day. Even to the waste mums, happy Mother's Day to you. It is what it is. But for right now, Hardcore Casual, out.